What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Submission Fishing Live. Glad you can make it. Another Thursday. Beautiful week down. We're almost there. How's everybody doing tonight? Got a special show for you today. We got Tonie coming on. She's a deckhand for the Grande, so I think it's going to be a good conversation. We'll have her on in a little bit. Uh, yeah, just go over all the other stuff. Hopefully, everybody's having a good week. Let's see who we got in the house. Cave Dog, number one. Oos, what's going on, Cal? Glad you could join us. Saltwater Slayer, what's going on? Welcome. Todd, TB Metal Art. You guys, TB Metal Art. He's the one that made the jig back here behind me. Life size slow death jig. Thank you, Todd, for that. You guys check out his work. He can make anything for you. I mean, he does fish, specializes in fish, but I mean, I've seen his other work too. If you want a Disneyland plaque, I mean, he'll make you one of those. That's his specialty. Flags Peter 86. What's going on, Benny Moreno? Oos, welcome to the show. Jessica, welcome. Danny Perez, how's it going? Welcome. Leonard, Oos, Dave Rage, welcome. Same crew from Monday and Wednesday. Which crew? This crew? It's always the same crew. East the Balls, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Jesse Burmett, Oos, SD Fisherman, yo, what's going on? Jean Marie, welcome to the show. Oscar 6, what was that? 636, what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? If you're new to the show and you're seeing people say Oos, just basically means they like the show. It's a greeting I took from jiu-jitsu, and it's a Japanese term, so it's kind of an affirmational term. So it just means they've liked the show. It means they've hit the like button. So that's what it means. If there's any new people coming in there, this crew for sure. Yeah, it's familiar faces, man. Same crew, same time. Let's see, fishing news. I mean, not too much going on. We do have the red tide coming in. Actually, it's been in for a little while. So if you guys notice, one of the cool effects is you get the bioluminescence out there in the tides and stuff. If you go out, it turns blue when it goes down. A lot of bacteria comes in. Stuff in the raid does have effects on fishing and everything, so something to be aware of. I went out yesterday with Aaron Kruger. We hit like a half day, did some rock fishing. It was okay. We just went shallow. You know, the thing is, they got to anchor up. It was just like a half day boat, but just little dinkers, little dink fish. We still got on some. Jessica landed a nice one on the 130 gram jig, so she was slow pitching, working the rockfish. That was pretty cool. Yeah, lots of whitefish. Actually, some dude caught. All were pretty small. It was pretty small fish. It was like nursery fish, but one dude got a big old 38-inch halibut, which was crazy. That thing was monster. I mean, and that was pretty exciting. Aside from that, I mean, pretty slow. I wanted something bigger. The only downside is, when you go out to the deeper lands, they can't anchor up, and they have to drift fish, which we weren't doing, and that's okay. Like when you have a lot of new people, it's hard to do, man. It's like everybody gets tangled up and stuff. So I'm going out again. I think like the 25th. We got like a private boat, so hopefully that one pans out a little better, a little more stable. Sea Samurai, Oos, welcome. What's going on, Kevin? Salty Dangler, glad you could join us. Spotty at best, yo, what is up? Dave Rage, I'm Cal, organizing my tuna gear today. Heck yeah, brother. What are you going for? You getting your bluefin stuff together or the yellowfin? Probably be bluefin first. If they come back, hopefully they do. I'm sure they're still out there somewhere, waiting to come in. I know last year, dude. Yeah, last year was crazy. It was nuts. Hopefully they stick around. Bluefin are a pain in the ass though. Yeah. Aside from that, I mean, that's the only news I have. Really, is the red tide. We have we got Salty Dangler and Brian Likes to Fish. They're part of the Submission Fishing Pro staff, so they're out there. We're sponsoring them. They're doing the SBS tournament, the saltwater tournament. So that's something to be aware of too, guys. That's happening in San Diego Bay. So it's going to be busy. If you're going to do kayak fishing or anything out there, it's going to be crazy. Lots of competitors. They're usually all on boats. It's like a sand bass. Any bass is my understanding. Calico bass, sand bass, spotted bay bass. So it's going to be wild. So if you do plan on going out there, just be aware of that. There's going to be lots of boats everywhere. So, be safe. Check out your surroundings. All that good stuff. If you guys are watching on Instagram, we're on YouTube right now, so check us out. Submission Fishing on YouTube. If you want to, join in the chat and all that stuff, come chat it up with our guests. Probably be awesome. Jesse Burmett, haven't been able to fish since Spotty Bowl last month. Been dancing too much, and you gotta give those feet a rest, man. You're gonna have to just work on the pedals, putting too much work on those feet. This is good stuff, man. What? No trivia? Trivia. Next week, guys, we're gonna have trivia. And we're gonna be giving away one of these. 220 gram. So we did trivia, what, a couple weeks ago? So I think I'm gonna do it every 2-3 weeks, probably every 3 weeks or so. This one, it's the blue and pink. So it's your chance to win. Don't get embarrassed by Kevin this time. I expect you guys to study. Be prepared. I'll probably do the same trivia. I'll probably keep it a lot of it'll be regulation based. So keep up on your regulations, no fish sizes, where you can fish, things like that. Question, Saltwater Slayer. Do you think my Shimano Tranx 400 could work for bluefin? It depends what size. Like the school bluefins, yeah, for sure. Like, those little 40 pounders and stuff like that. If the donkeys come in, like, I don't think so. Unless you're like really skilled, if you turn the drag way down and you're willing to fight it for a long time, it can be done. As long as your braid, and your line is like strong enough. But you're gonna have a hard time. When you get upwards of 100 pounds, you want sometimes 2-speed reels, pretty heavy. I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done. If you've never caught one on that though, it'd be pretty tough. It'd be a good question for Tonie. We'll see what she thinks about that. I'm sure she's got some input. She's saying she's seen many bluefin in her day.
Well, you can answer that Instagram question about fishing from shore now.
Instagram. Oh yeah, we did have an Instagram question. Somebody was asking if we can fish the slow death jigs from shore, and yeah, you can actually. I actually caught a halibut on one yesterday. It wasn't from shore; I was from the boat, but we weren't launched yet. I cast it out, just bombed it halfway across the bay. We were still right there in H&M Landing, and basically you just lift it and reel it in. It'll come up and it'll wobble down, and it'll come up and it'll fall, and then it'll come up and fall, and you retrieve as you go. So every lift you retrieve, and you'll pick up probably like 3 feet forward, but it'll pop it up like another 3 feet. So you get that flutter. Basically, you walk the flutter all the way through, and yeah, you get bit. I think Sound in the City. He's in here a lot of times. He fishes them from the shore. Ton of people shore fishing though. There's another guy from Instagram. What's his name? John. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always. I see him fishing them from shore too, and he's slaying it, man. He's slaying spotties with those things. Kevin got that fiber optic. Oh, you're already making excuses for the trivia next week. Kevin lives in Fallbrook. He ain't got no fiber optic internet unless they know something I don't. Maybe I'm thinking Ramona. Ramona's that's like the backwoods of the internet world.
Careful, the turkeys will be.
Yeah, the turkeys. I don't see any of the Ramona crew in here today. Yeah, Benny Marino, be visible out there, fellas. Yeah, definitely. Put your flags up for sure if you got them on your kayaks if you're going to be out there. Those guys will be zipping around. Let's see here. Oosh, regulations. That's not trivia. That's a quiz. That's true. So we'll just call it a quiz. We'll call it a test.
Quiz night.
I want to make sure you guys are still on your toes. So if I pair an MMFC rod for sure. If not, I'll get the Tranx 500. Oh, you talking about the
if that will work. 400.
Pair it with the MMFC. So the MMFC rod, that's the Seeker rod. I think that rod that they're getting, that Seeker rod's pretty beefy. I don't think you have a problem with the rod. Tranx 500, yeah, it's probably a little better. It depends what you're jigging for though. I mean, if you're looking for big tuna, I would probably go something a little heavier. Unless you're casting irons. If you want to cast, if you're going surface irons, and I think that rod that you're talking about is made for surface iron casting. So the Tranx would probably be good. And you're probably good. I mean, unless you're really going out for the 200-pound tuna, I think that'd be fine. It should be all right. Captain Dan, what's going on? Welcome. Slayer, go for the 500. I have no good for bluefin. Well, hey, if it's good enough for Captain Dan, it's good enough for me. Yeah, I think anything even 100 pounds, I think it'll do 100-pounder, no problem. Down in SD, who's welcome. Oh, you got 2 of them. Nice. Kevin's in Fallbrook. He's hooked onto that Pendleton Atomic Speed internet. They're already calling you out, Kevin. They're saying that's how you win. I don't know about that, but all right, guys. I think that's all I got. I mean, house cleaning wise. So, Tonie, you ready to come on the show? Just give me the thumbs up. All right, guys. Welcome. Can you hear
What's up,
me?
guys? Yeah, I hear you
What's going
just
on?
fine.
So just introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are. What's your name? Where you work?
Yeah, my name's Tony. I spell it with the IE at the end. It's not Tawny, it's Tony. But basically, growing up, I've been fishing for most of my life. But my dad, he had a business in Alaska. So when I was really young, my family, that's what we would do. You know, my friends would go and vacation for the summer, and we would go up to Alaska and work.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we grew up really outdoorsy. You know, we learned how to fish for sustainability and to put meat in the freezer. That was like what really sparked it for me.
Interesting.
But my
Was it
dad, he
commercial
would.
fishing or just like was it commercial
So
fishing or just like
yeah,
recreational?
it was recreational.
Right.
So I have two brothers too. So it was always, oh, what are the boys doing? They're doing something outdoorsy. I
Right.
have to be there. There's no way. But we would always joke because my dad gets seasick in bathwater. So we could never really go out on like saltwater boats, with family
Interesting.
friends. So we did the whole fly fishing,
Oh
snagging
wow.
for
Wow.
salmon. That was like what we did. Um, but when I got older after high school, I always wanted to go to school for marine biology. I always wanted to be a marine biologist. So I ended up going to school at Cal State Long Beach. That's where I got my degree. But the steps kind of leading up to that, I would still go to Alaska every summer and would work at the Alaska Sea Life Center. And they had marine mammals and birds and different fish species there. But I was more on the research caretaker side of things because
Nice.
initially that's really what I wanted to do was, be a trainer, work with, these different types of marine mammals. Um,
Like the
but
SeaWorld type stuff.
exactly,
Interesting.
exactly.
You ever seen them
Um,
down there in the training yard in San Diego Bay? Yeah, it was
yeah, I
crazy. The other
have.
day I was out there in my kayak and they were playing fetch, and I thought it was a dog, and it was a sea lion. And then you'll see if you guys go out there. If you go over by like where Kellogg is, Kellogg Beach, sometimes you'll see the people and the dolphins are like doing flips out of the water. They got a little training center there. It's cool.
Yeah, there's also it's the or the Naval Marine Mammal Center that's down there too. So there's not infantrymen, but marine mammal trainers that are through the Navy that
Yeah,
have, bomb sniffing dolphins over there,
that's that's
which is
crazy.
pretty
That's pretty
cool.
crazy.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine go into that program. But
Nice. So
yeah,
you did the marine biology thing, and then where'd you go from there?
yeah, I did the marine biology thing while going to school. I put myself through school by working in Alaska in the summer and working at different places down here when I was in school. So it was kind of all over the place, but started working on boats when I was maybe 17, 17, around 17, 16, 17. I was
Oh
working
wow.
for a glacier and wildlife cruise company up in Alaska. So it's not sport fishing, but that's where my
So did
boat
you live in Alaska? Is
experience.
that where you grew up? So you like lived there? It wasn't just like
I
a
was
travel
always
thing.
commuting.
Oh, you were. So
So
it was back and forth. Okay, cool.
yeah, so I'd always spend my summers and some winters going up there, and then the fall and the spring for school is when I'd be down here. And I grew up in Anaheim, so
Oh,
I was
nice,
up in Anaheim at the time. Yeah, yeah.
nice.
So when I wasn't in Alaska doing all these things, I was down here. I worked or volunteered about a year and a half for the White Sea Bass Project out in Newport, and eventually got a research grant to go out to Catalina Island for about 5, 6 months, and tried writing a paper on zebra perch and their feeding activity at high and low tides.
Wow.
But the whole sport boat scene for me began maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I took it. Guess you could say professionally or seriously, whichever you prefer. Um, but I started working on boats up in Alaska in the summer, and that translated to me eventually coming here. I just wanted to try something new, something different to see if I liked it, and been down here for the last few years. So
That's awesome. Was it
mhm.
like did you like go out fishing on a boat and be like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," or did you just go like straight to kind of working on one? Or
I
what kind of
always
what
thought
sparked it?
I always thought that fish are like the coolest animal ever. So for me, it was like, oh, I've been fishing like most of my life. I know how to fish. And then my first day working on the boat, it's like all of this work and the whole behind the scenes aspect of it, I had no idea even existed. But I knew that even being out on the water, I'm like, this is sick. Like, this is
Yeah,
what I want to do. What was I doing before?
that's awesome. That's so cool. And then have you helped like I just want to say first off, the marine biologist that doesn't impress me. You know what impresses me? This deckhands being able to untangle 10 lines out of a much like that's like witchcraft. I don't even know how those guys do it.
Yeah, they
Or
don't call
women
it
do it. How you
sport
guys do it?
fishing for
When those
no
things are tangled up
reason.
and not a single line gets cut, I'm like, whenever it happens, I just hand the bird's nest over and they get it undone in like 3 minutes. I'm like, dude, I don't even know how that's even possible. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
the
you do
real skill
something
right there.
like that about 50 times a day. You get pretty good at
Yeah.
you get pretty good at it very fast.
Do you get used to it and numb to it, or is it like one of those things where you're like, oh, not again, these guys?
Yeah, I mean, we can see it like before it even happens, like mid
When
cast.
nobody's walking,
Yeah, we know like, oh, this
yeah,
is not it's not going to end well.
nobody's
But
following their lines. Yeah, you know it's coming.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, we see it a mile away. We see everything. Everything that happens on the boat, we see it all.
And is the Grande the only ship you work for, or you've been
Yeah,
on everywhere?
it's been the only boat I've
Oh,
worked
that's awesome.
for
And you've been there what,
here in
5
San
years?
Diego. Grande, no, this will be my third season.
Third season. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I think I've been on the Grande a handful of times. I think last time me and Jessica went out there, you were on there with us. You probably don't remember it. It was
2 years
I don't
ago.
oh, it was two
remember.
years
I'm
ago. It was
sorry.
actually 2020.
Hmm.
Was that?
It was
It
2020.
was
Yeah.
2020. Yeah, and I
We
feel
got
like
a
I might have
bunch
been
of
out there.
bluefin.
We got a bunch of bluefin that day. Yeah,
We've been on our boat. I
it
think.
was pretty cool. We've been on your boat a few
That
times.
one
Yeah,
trip was so fun.
yeah, but that trip was pretty fun. We were getting those bluefin deep and stuff like that. That's awesome. And you think the does the marine biology thing, does that play into fishing? Do you think it helps you?
Yes and
Um,
no. I mean,
or does it
I
not
can
play in?
definitely tell you like when the fish comes up, everything about it, probably almost everything about it. But as far as like the mechanics of fishing, no way. But understanding, I know in your podcast you talked about lateral lines, you talked about
Right.
barotrauma and rockfish. So things like that are things that I already know and acknowledge. And if I'm helping someone drop down a fish or trying to tell them, hey, this fish is not going to make it if you just throw it out, certain things like that kind of help and come into play. But
Yeah.
it's fun, like when you're filleting, at least for me, if I'm filleting, I kind of know where the musculature is, how to
Right.
be
Interesting.
efficient, things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that is cool. I mean, I do too. I love all that deep dive stuff when we sometimes I do like the fish deep dive where I'll study it for like a day or two and getting all the info and I think it helps you be a better fisherman, understanding the things that most people probably don't understand about understanding fish, I think will make you a better fisherman,
Yeah,
instead of just
absolutely.
understanding the gear and the lure is like if you know the fish itself, it gives you a little hand up. A lot of people
Yeah,
say
and
it's the small things add up in fishing, right? And that's what ends up making you a better fisherman. It's like all the little incremental steps that just help.
right. And not just understanding the anatomy, but the behavior
Yeah,
as well.
big
And
time.
so when you're out on the water and you see that they're on the surface, like for bluefin, they're out on the surface, you can kind of think like, okay, obviously they're on top. This is what tackle choice I'm going to use. I'm going to use a surface iron, maybe a fine line bait. But then, after the boat comes around, you start slowing down, you notice that the fish aren't there anymore. You might want to switch from doing, instead of a live bait, you might want to drop down something else. For
Right.
yellowtail,
Yeah,
obviously a yo-yo, but it kind of helps tailor your decisions when you're
absolutely.
fishing.
How often do you usually get to fish? Like when you're on the boats? Do you take like separate days, or I know some says I see the deckhands out there fishing sometimes.
Yeah, I
Wherever.
mean, it's hard to take a day off and fish.
Do you even
Usually, I
want to?
mean, yeah, I mean,
Do
so
you, or
most
are
of
you just
the
over it? Are you like I don't want to be on a boat again?
So most of the time, at least for me, if I have, say, a day off or something, I'll stay on the boat and I'll fish. So if
Oh,
I
nice.
know that the fish have been biting pretty steadily, I'll want to stay on the boat and try and
Hell
catch
yeah,
my own fish. But
that's
um,
awesome.
Yeah, but when it's hard because when it's full speed during the season, a lot of times we're going a week, maybe 2 weeks without a day off,
Yeah,
and then
that's
we're
brutal.
back on the boat again. So, yeah, it's hard to kind of take a day off. But towards the end of the season, when we have more irregular days that we're going out, you'll see us on, other boats and stuff. We
Yeah,
we still want to be out there. We still want a piece of it.
that's cool. Yeah, I always wonder that, because it's like everybody here loves fishing, but it was like, I wonder if you do it professionally, maybe you wouldn't like, sometimes that happens. Like you do it, then you probably just, I don't ever want to see a boat again. But that's cool that you're passionate about it and still like it. Yeah.
What did she study marine biology? Was it Cal State Long Beach?
Long Beach, I think. Right? It was Cal
Yeah.
State Long Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's freaking awesome. Let's see.
You spelled her name wrong. That's okay. I got questions.
I spelled her name wrong. Apparently, I spelled your name wrong. So sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Oh, I left the E off. We'll fix that. We'll fix that in post.
Don't worry.
Oh, I totally did. I just put the I, man. I spelled it like that in like the thumbnail and everything. I got my wife. See, she's got the English literature disease, English literature degree. I don't have any degree, so it shows right there. Let's see. Cave Dog wants to know what's your go-to bluefin setup.
Well, it depends which ones are biting. So, if they're like the medium grade, I have a Seeker 6480, and I have it paired with the Fathom 25, the narrow lever drag. So I have small hands, right? I'm obviously not tall and have big hands like you men. So for me, like that's the outfit that works best for me because I can actually grip the reel if I need it to, and it's light enough weight and sturdy enough. But for that medium grade, definitely fly lining on that Seeker. If they're bigger, like if we're jigging at night, I have my cow rod that I have. It's actually right behind me somewhere. I need to clean it. But it's a CalStar 770H, and I have a Fathom 40 on it. So I got 80 braid and I think 100 fluoro. That's what I have on it right now. And I'll tie on like a knife jig, something heavy that'll drop down fast.
Nice. That's awesome. And then he also asked, do you have any aspirations of becoming a captain?
I do. So
Nice.
hopefully, and by this time next year, I'll be getting my license. So I'm just trying to finish up the hours needed for it. The boats that I worked on in Alaska for a few years, they were smaller boats, so you needed a 50-ton license for it. So the boats out here, they're 100 tons, so you need heftier license, more time for it. So I'm just trying to make up the difference.
That's cool. I didn't know that. So it's like the degree of license is based on the boat size. So you can't get like a captain's license. So it's not all encompassing. It has to be like for like vessel size.
Yeah, like if you've only been on a boat for like a year, you're not going to try and get a license that's for a cruise ship. There's different tiers.
Okay.
Kind of like when you get your driver's license, there's certain requirements that have to get met, certain certifications.
So like class B, Class A. So there's different. Interesting.
Yeah. I think like not the beginner, but like the first license that you can get, it's a 6-pack, OUPV, I think is the abbreviation for it. That's usually where people start off, and they just kind of, as they get more time, they increase their license, but it depends. There are some kids and some pinheads that have been working on the boat since they were young, and they've already accrued all the sea time that they can already apply for a bigger license. So
it's pretty cool. And the 6-pack means you can take 6 people out, right?
It's
right? Or the boat size.
Yeah, it has to do with the boat size and what it's Coast Guard regulated to how many people you can legally carry.
So she wants to be a captain for that, or for like the Grande type of boat.
Oh, so Jessica was asking, so do you want to be a captain for the smaller 6-pack or like a Grande size boat?
So I think it would be beneficial to get a bigger license, 100-ton license. That way there's, you have the right license for the boat that you're working on, especially. But going forward in the future, maybe 5-6 years from now, if I were to have my own vessel, I'd want something a little smaller. But you can still operate boats that are below that license.
Okay,
title,
so you want to go bigger, and then you can operate. So you can't go smaller and go up, but a bigger license covers a lot of the smaller stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know any of that. She would be the first female captain in SD.
Who was that?
Down in SD.
Down in SD wants to know if you would be the first female captain in San Diego.
Unfortunately, no.
That size boat.
There's a few other female captains down here. Her name is Sydney. I don't remember her last name. And Robin, she's on the Legend. So there's nice. There's 2 female captains right there that are out of H&M, and I don't remember what boat Sydney's on, but I'll be one of the few. One of the few.
And do you have Salty Dangler wants to know if you have a PB spotty?
If I were to guess what my PB was, it was maybe 3 pounds.
Well, that's pretty big. That's a beast. Do you fish spotties? Or is it you're just like getting a tuna game mostly?
So you asked if we fish like on our day off. Usually when we come back after a trip, there's usually 2 or 3 of us, after we cleaned up and most everybody's gone home. There's maybe 2 or 3 of us that are on the bow with our little bass rods trying to get spotties or something. We do fish Olympics.
Oh, that's awesome. I just wonder, sometimes you catch the big stuff and people don't even bother with the little things. A lot of these guys we're big into the spotty fishing too. I like the big game stuff, but we do tons of spotty tournaments and all that stuff. So it's a big thing. Yeah. And I went out yesterday. I was fishing before we even took off. What were we on? The Premiere?
The Premiere.
We did like a half day on the Premiere. I think it was like the only boat running, and we were fishing off the bow before we even left. We were there like 20 minutes early, and I caught a little halibut, and buddy Aaron caught a spotty, and we were over there just we got fish before we even left. It was pretty cool though. So we hit the bait barge, and we're fishing the bait barge. When we stop at the bait barge, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, even the last couple months we've had off or just doing boat work. Sometimes my boyfriend and I will go down to the docks and we'll try and catch something.
Just get them up. That's awesome.
Just something, anything. Even if it's a dink, it's fine. Just want to get bit by something.
Yeah, sometimes whatever it takes. The dinks are fun. As long as you're catching. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you don't always have to be going after the big stuff.
There's a question in the chat too, the private chat.
Let's see.
Captain Dan says he has a 100-ton master's license.
Captain Dan has a 100-ton license. Captain Dan's he's the real deal. And now he's doing, if you know Captain Dan, he does video production and stuff like that. And pizza. And he makes pizzas for our outings all the time.
Noelle wants to know what her favorite way to fish is.
Noelle wants to know, what's your favorite way to fish? I'm assuming
generally
or gigs or
generally or for each fish. It can be a very broad question.
Let's break it down. Each
fish. Okay. For tuna, for me, I'd rather jig. For tuna, I think I have the patience for it, whereas a lot of people, they'll just give up after casting it out 5 times. But I'll still be up there on the bow. I'll try and jig for them and try to get one. For yellowtail.
That's why you're on the show.
Which reminds me, I have to tell you the story of my thunderstorm tuna towards the end of the season last year.
Me. I will.
But for yellowtail, I'd probably use that seeker, probably use a live fly line bait for that one. What else? The smaller, the Dorado and Bonita, I'd probably still stick to fly line, especially if we know that they're there. But I'll whip out a Zakana jig and I'll cast it out with my jig stick too. It just depends on what's biting.
Whatever's biting, yeah.
And what's there. But generally, I tend to go for jigs for tuna, and everything else I'll do fly line bait.
Nice. And do you prefer, you like the jigging the most, or the fly line?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've caught more fish on jigs than I have on fly line.
That's awesome. And you jig the yellowtail? Have you tried jigging for the yellowtail, or you just?
I have.
The fly line works better.
I I have tried. I've yo-yoed for yellowtail before, but I don't know. For me, it just depends on where the fish are. So if
Yeah.
I see that they're up top and they're active and they're biting fly line, then I'll easily cut my jig off and throw out a bait if I
Yeah.
know that most people are getting bit. If it's really tough and they're not coming up and they're down below, captain sees them on the up and down, then I'm gonna drop a yo-yo down. So it's one of those things where you have to understand what the behavior of the fish is doing, and you kind of just adjust.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know it's like throwing Dorados when they're blowing up. It's like they eat
They're just
anything.
stupid.
Yeah, you
They're just
throw a
stupid.
top water on there, it's like you get slammed instantly. Yeah. You know what I love the jigs is like the bonito too, man. Those things just like they'll crush those things. It's crazy. If you like, I think bonito are fun. No, do you eat bonito or do you throw them back? What's your take on that? Like
If
we've got half and half here. Of like what they think of the bonito.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm just fishing like for leisure, I'll keep one or two, as long as I'm keeping it really cold. I mean, if by the time I get it from the boat and I forget about it and I want to put it in the fridge and the consistency of the meat for me just is tarnished. So as long as I'm keeping the meat chilled, then I'll make it in pokey.
Yeah,
Um, I
so you
don't have
get
a
it too.
problem with it as long as it's kept fresh
That's
and
awesome.
chilled. But
Yeah.
otherwise,
I
I
make
won't
it
eat
in
it.
poke all the time. That's what I tell people too. I think it's awesome. I think if it's fresh, most people wouldn't even know. Just because like
Yeah.
bonito, so many times on these sport boats, you hear everybody's like, "Oh, throw it back. It's a trash fish. It's oily," and it's like I try to tell people, I'm like, bonito's good. Like, if you take care of it, you bleed it, hit it with the brain spike real quick, and cut the gills, and like you said, get it cold. I mean, it's still be really good.
Yeah. And for us on our boat, like we have a RSW. So the moment you bring your fish on the boat, we're throwing it in there to chill. So when you get your fish at the end of the day, it's already cold. I know some of the other boats that don't have that and you're catching bonita, like I totally understand why people might think that it's not good. But
Yeah,
I've made plenty of pokey with it and I'll eat it.
that's awesome. I think it's good too. I've been trying to get people to turn around on it, or I think a lot of us are. A lot of us on here have tried it, have actually liked it, but I just hate when I see people acting like it's the most garbage fish in the world. I'm like, it's not, guys. It's good. Noel says bonito is the best. Had a boy. I don't know if it's the best. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's the best.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better than bluefin, but it is good for sure. Salty Dingler says, "What's your reaction the first time someone brought a slow pitch rod on the boat?" Oh, that's funny. We talked about this when we had our like our test run. I talked to her Tuesday, I think, but go ahead
Yeah,
and answer that question.
I think it was last season for me, maybe last year. And some of the guys on the boat had brought like their slow pitch for like big tuna, right? And I just remember looking at it. I'm like, it's acid wrapped. It just looks funky. Like we don't use slow pitch in Alaska, like that.
Right.
I've never seen that before. And then I saw more and more people using it. And then I realized how successful they are if you're using it correctly. And it's crazy seeing like these 5'8", these 6'3" little rods that look like they're trout rods, and they're
Right.
catching these big fish. It just blew my mind.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's funny because we always have a joke about that. Like I have some of my YouTube videos where I even left it in there where the deckhands are like they're getting heckled about it and they're calling them trout rods and they're telling me to put that gear away and then instantly like right after they say that I slam a tuna and bring it overboard and yeah then they don't say anything for the rest of the trip. But it's usually the old timers. If you're not using a broomstick and just overkill stuff, they think you don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah, I know we talked about it earlier. I think it's going to gain a lot more prominence here in the next couple of years. You're already starting to see it a little more, but like 2020, 2021, it was like I was getting the weird looks from people for sure. They're like, "What's this guy bringing? He doesn't know what he's fishing for." It was pretty funny.
Yeah, they're different,
Yeah,
different looking.
It's fun. Have you used one like the super parabolic rods, or you're fishing the jigs with like still pretty heavy gear, right? It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my setup, you can't jig fast, like by any means. I mean, I've done it. And you're sore after about 30 minutes, but I've
Right.
caught fish on it still. But really to emphasize that reaction and the behavior of the jig, I think those slow pitch rods, I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I can't even tell you how many fish we've caught on those rods. The captain is hooked up. He has one.
Yeah.
Alex hooked. I mean, I'll look over and Alec has a tuna on and no one else has one on.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that was Dave Rage. That comment. We went on a trip. We went on an overnight last year at the deckhand. Yeah, he yelled at me and told me to put the light gear away. We were catching yellowfin, and he was like, this dude was like literally upset that he thought I was just like playing around with like light gear, and he's like, no, I mean, just get your good gear. Let's get limits first. And I was like, and then he was gaffing one for me like 5 minutes later.
Relax,
like, go get
bro.
the gaff. Go get the gaff. We got a fish on this thing. You know what's interesting is I think it's easier to fight fish on those super parabolic rods, because I've caught, and I think because they stay bent, that there's always pressure on it. Because I've caught fish on a really stiff rod, like smaller fish, and it's like it is such a pain in the ass, and it's like such a hard fight. And sometimes when I fight them on those super bendy rods, it's not nearly as hard to bring in. And I think honestly, because the rod is always loaded, I think it's constantly pulling up on the fish. And I don't ever really hear that talked about. Like when the rod's super stiff, you got to lift it, and then you take the ground on it, you lift it. But those parabolic slow pitch rods, I think because they're always bent, it's always trying to straighten itself back up, and it feels like it's always helping lift the fish through the water. Because I've caught real similar sized fish on both, and I'm like, man, these slow pitch rods are way easier to bring these things in. And I think because they're always just loaded and bent is what the difference is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of backbone in those rods too that I don't think people realize. Unless you try it, then I think you understand, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Unless you grab it high, and then it will break.
Yeah. Well, I didn't break it. It was a different rod.
Okay.
I broke a rod in half the other day, like completely in half. But I got it. It was a fluke. Yeah. It wasn't a slow pitch rod though. I got it stuck, and I was like it broke in half. I don't know how. I had 15-pound test. It was a 20-pound rod. I think I just put my hand in the middle, and I was like trying to get it unstuck, and just snapped in half. That was the first time I've ever snapped a rod in half.
Hopefully the last time.
Yeah, hopefully the last time. That's pretty funny.
You got to get that one out of the way.
Yeah, be done with it. It was a Phoenix. I got to pay the thing and get a new one.
I wanted to know if her marine biologist background gives her like insight into what the bluefin tuna are gonna do or are doing. If that gives her an edge on knowing how to fish them. Like last year we went out for them like 7,000 times, right?
Jessica wants to know
if that makes sense.
If there's any secrets of the bluefin behavior that you know from being a marine biologist that gives you the edge.
So for me, I knew like general like migratory pathways that the tuna would take and different species would take. So I had an idea of what the season would be. But honestly, the captains and a lot of the deckhands that are down here that have been doing this all of their life, they could tell you so much more than I learned in my years in college, right?
Yeah.
And
just
so
the experience.
Yeah. And, these guys are out there every day, every year, and they can tell you the trends of what has been happening. And that's something that I really appreciated, and something that when I started working on boats, I kind of realized like, man, like maybe going in like the direction of grad school isn't the option for me. I want to be hands-on. I want to be able to see what trends are happening and how the fish are reacting when it's a La Nina compared to an El Nino. And we saw that alone just in the last 2 years. I mean, 2020 was completely different than last year was,
Right.
So
Yeah.
certain things like that, you have awareness, but overall, like fishing knowledge on trends, I mean, kudos to all these captains. And I've tried to soak up everything. Every time I'm on the boat, I'm learning. Honestly, I'm learning something new every time I'm there. So listen to your captains, listen to your deckhands.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's true. I mean, you just can't overstay that experience. You know what I mean? It's like no amount of schooling, right, prepares you for just the hours and the time on the water. And some of those captains, it's just like they just have the intuition. Like you can't even explain it. Like they see the water, whether it's just the birds are out there acting a certain way and the color of the water, and it's just you start to get a
Everything.
feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything.
It's pretty crazy. Even when you're just fishing these small fish, it's like sometimes you just go out there and you look at the conditions, like the water, how the kind of the current's moving, and you're like, they're just not going to bite today, or you're like, today's going to be a good day, and you can't really explain it. It's just like because I've been on my kayak 50 million times in this one spot, and it's like you get to kind of get in touch with nature, so to speak. It sounds kind of funny, but yeah, it's some definite truth to that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What does she predict for this season? And Zachary wants to know what rod is better for catching bigger fish.
Zach wants to know interesting info on the rods. Which is better for catching bigger fish? I think you'd have to. For me, I think it's the parabolic rod. I don't know if you've tried those, but I've compared the two, and for me, it's definitely the slow pitch rod for sure.
Yeah, I've used a slow pitch rod before, but I haven't done it from start to finish. I haven't hooked up to one, brought it in all the way in on the boat. So I actually haven't gotten a chance to do that yet.
Have to compare them.
So the method that I know that I've caught big tuna with, all my tuna were over 100 pounds. Well, most of them were over 100 pounds last year, and that's on a bigger, stiffer rod, like the 770 I have.
Right. Dave Rage wants to know what brings tuna super close to the shore. Is it just temperature?
Yeah, it can be. A lot of times they're following the bait fish, right? So certain times a year, the water temperature kind of dictates what fish or what bait fish are going to come around. So last year we saw that there was a lot of anchovy, more so than like previous years. So with that, we saw a lot more bluefin coming in closer to shore. So I think that had something to do with the water temperature for sure. But a lot, these fish, they're following the bait fish around. So
yeah, last year, I think it was June. I launched I live here in Carlsbad, and I launched out of Carlsbad, and I was only a mile out, and I got into a huge boil of bluefin tuna, and only a mile off the shore, and I didn't land one. Unfortunately, I wasn't rigged up for it. I was throwing like a little spoon. It was the only thing I had. I wasn't expecting to get into bluefin at all, and I was just going out there for like some big rockfish and stuff, and I heard like just this crazy thing, and I thought it was dolphins, and I saw the boiling, and I'm like, oh, there's some dolphins over there. I have a video of it. It's on YouTube. It was like I think it was last year during June, and I was like, man, what is that? And literally my kayak went over a boil. It was crazy. A big boil of bluefin tuna right underneath my kayak. They were like splashing in the boat, jumping all over the place.
Just
and
tanks coming out of the water.
Yeah, they were smaller, but I mean, I casted in this thing probably like 6 dozen times, and they wouldn't eat it. It was heartbreaking, but it was literally a mile offshore from the water.
Yeah,
I've never seen
remember that.
It was crazy. Yeah, and then the next day, all the sport boats were like up in Oceanside, just working, 2 miles off the thing, and they didn't bite. A lot of people didn't get hooked up though. They were so finicky, man. It's like you'd roll up on a boil, and I can't tell you how many boils I cast in last year, and they would just not eat it, no matter what you threw in there. Bluefin are such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they are. They're
finicky.
smart.
They're right there. It is just like they just don't eat sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah, especially when they're on their own bait like that. That's their natural bait,
yeah.
So they're zoned in on that.
Yeah.
When you see us throwing bait, we're trying to make artificial, but we're trying to create that bait ball for them to bring them into the boat, and it becomes a little bit easier for us to get them that way. But I mean, most of the time we would see private boats, sport boats out there, and no one's bringing in fish.
Yeah.
You know, they're all too preoccupied. But it's hard when they're on their own bait like that. They got blinders on.
Yeah. And we kept finding them and they just wouldn't eat, man. We had a trip, it was rough. Or when they did, and then later in the season they would come up, they would eat real quick, and then they'd be gone. And so if you didn't get bit like in that
Immediately.
we'd go run up on it. And if you didn't get bit in like that first like 2 minutes, they were gone. And then they'd move on to the next. Then he'd chase them down, they'd come up again, eat whatever it was, and then they would just disappear. It was it is fun.
Welcome to Bluefin.
Because when you finally get one, you're like, finally. But yeah, one boat, sometimes come back with like 3 bluefin, out of a whole bunch of people. Salty Dangler says, do you have a forecast for the fishing this year? Good signs, bad signs?
I just need a sign. I need a job. We all need jobs. Yeah, I'm hoping that it'll be more of a Dorado, yellowfin, kind of that year. We missed out on that last year. So it'd be nice to have those species come back, but you need warmer water. So if we're going to have a year like we did last year where the water was a little bit cooler, it was a La Nina last year, then it might be similar to what we had in 2021. But I don't know. It's tough to say. It really is. But if we're looking at what the trend is, it might be similar to last year. But
yeah, it's nobody really knows. 2020 was like 2020 was awesome for like Dorado and yellowfin, bonito. They were skipjack, and then last year was just such a grind because it was bluefin, and then they just did not eat, or when they did, it was a grind for sure. Yeah, but I do miss the 2020 was awesome. Going patty hopping, and then once you found the Dorado, it was like you don't even have to try. You don't even know how to fish. Just the yellowfin, and when they boil on those patties, just throw whatever in. They're gonna eat it. Yeah. We didn't have that last year. You're right. It was definitely different.
Totally it was not fishing. Aquarium fishing last year. That's for sure. Yeah,
it was brutal. I got a few. I mean, I can't complain. I got quite a few yellowfin actually, and I was just jigging, slow pitch jigging deep. I was getting them like a lot of times 150 feet down and stuff. Captain would be like, they're under the boat. It's like what you were talking about. We went on a trip. I was the only one that caught yellowfin, and I was the only one jigging, slow pitch jigging, and because people were fly lining. Captain's like, they're here, but they're under the boat. They're about 150 feet down, and just working that jig underneath, and got a couple. I was able to pull up 2 that day, so it was pretty cool. And then
it's worth it.
Opened a lot of eyes to people. They were like, oh, dang.
They are here. The captain is not lying.
Yeah. But what do? You can rubber band, and you can throw a rubber band on there and on the sinker and then send one down a live bait. But even then, it's tough.
It works though, but it's tough.
Yeah. The bait has to stay alive all the way down.
Yeah. Or they eat it off, or a sea lion gets it. And it's like you don't, your live bait's tough. You got to check it. You got to change it all the time. And if I don't ever fish it, like I don't care. I'll just go artificial the whole way. Kevin, Sea Samurai wants to know what's your ideal jig?
My ideal jig?
What would be your perfect jig? What colors? Which ones? What's your go-to?
Oh, I can't tell you that secret. Come on. Come on.
You can DM me later.
For generally, and we see a lot of people doing this on the boat too. I mean, you can have your favorite jig and say, it's 180 gram jig and you're dropping it down and it's your favorite jig and you've caught fish on it before. But say that jig is, there's a lot of current, there's wind that day and the boat's drifting really fast. So you honestly want to tailor your jig to what the conditions are. So for me, I usually start like for tuna, I'll start off with a heavier jig. So like a 180 to 220. And then I'll kind of base it off of if I need to go higher, which is usually the case, or if I might go down like 20 grams or something. But my favorite jigs have, I think one's purple, one's a Katy Perry, and I think those are the two main ones
Like
that
that
I've
one,
caught.
right? Like the purple. That's what you guys call the Katy Perry, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
blue and red or blue and pink. Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. And the purple. See, Samurai said, "What's doinking?"
I knew it was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen, but it's easier because you guys can see me. So basically, you're creating slack in your line with your jig that's attached to your jig. So if this is got my pen. So if you have your rod out, once your jig is down to whatever depth you're at, what you're gonna do is you're gonna lift your pole up, your rod up, you're going to set it down. And so what you want is you want to create that slack in your line. And then as soon as it pulls tight is when you want to lift it up again and drop it back down quickly. So you're creating that slack line, and that's going to initiate like a flutter, that movement of the jig. And so what you do with that is you'll do that a few times. You'll, reel it up, a few cranks, 10 cranks, whatever. And you'll repeat that motion. So we call that doinking.
Oh, interesting. Is that just because it's the heavier
Doinking.
rod? It's basically slow pitch jigging. I mean, that's the whole premise of it is you lift it, the bait it comes up, it goes horizontal and it flutters. Once it pops down, you lift it up again and because the horizontal is when you get bit, typically on jigs like this, because they think it's a dying bait fish. So like you're saying, when you lift it, or why it's called a pitch is because when you slow pitch jigging, those rods, they throw it up, and the pitch is when it comes up and it'll send it to the side, and that's when you real similar style.
Yeah, it's like the slow version of slow pitch.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because you're not really lifting, you're not reeling right as you're going.
Right.
Right,
You're only reeling once your line has tension on it and you're going up in the water column, because you want to utilize that water column as best you can.
You're not lifting as you're jigging. It's a lift without the reel, correct?
Yeah, with doinking. That's
With doinking, it's
essentially what it is.
without reeling. You're lifting, falling. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like what they call or Japanese. It's similar. It's like long fall. They would call that like a long fall technique. Well, we're gonna call it doinking. I'm gonna give it the California spin on it.
Coin it.
You've already coined it. But yeah. The Japanese are gonna be like, dude, we just call that jigging. We call that slow pitch jigging. Yeah, that's awesome. And then Captain Dan wants to know, you put pineapple on pizza? Pineapple or no pineapple?
I love pineapple. Okay, so you got to hear me out. So my family owns a pizza restaurant, right? We've owned one for like 15 years. So I've had almost every combination of pizza you can possibly imagine. Now, if you want pineapple with pepperoni, probably gonna say no. But if you've got pineapple, some grilled chicken, a little bit of cilantro, barbecue base, grilled onions, pineapple is perfect.
That's awesome. I'm in. He didn't actually ask that question, but he just hates people that have pineapple on pizza. I'm on team pineapple for sure. Pineapple is like my favorite pizza in the world. Same thing in the chat. We're divided, right? Half people hate the pineapple, half people love it. But yeah, Cave Dog's putting up the barf symbols, so he's not all about it.
No faith.
Pineapple's the best, man. Heck yeah, I agree.
Salty wants to get the pitchforks? No.
Yeah, Salty wants to get the pitchforks out.
Yeah, maybe. Very
True. Zachary Riggs, he's all about it. He loves the pineapple.
Captain Dan wants a throwdown.
Oh, Captain Dan says duel of the pizza chefs, throwdown, baby. He makes his own pizzas. I've seen him brings out the portable ovens. He gets down. So next time you come out, you're gonna have to bring it out.
We make our dough from scratch. I've been doing slave labor since I was 7 years old.
Here we go, Captain Dan. We got the throwdown in the making. We're gonna have to do like an Iron Chef.
That'd be so fun.
Dave Ray asks, other than the Grande, of course, what boats do you like out of H&M?
To be honest, I haven't been on a lot of the other boats out of H&M, only because I'm working almost every day once the season starts. So I don't get a lot of opportunity to go out, but I have a lot of respect for, all the other captains that are out there that we see every day. So I can't just pinpoint one boat because I haven't really experienced a lot of them.
Is the Grande out of H&M?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. I get so confused with all the landings out there. That's good stuff. Yeah, I imagine you don't get much time on all the other ones. That's good stuff. Oh, man, we started the war with the pineapple pizza. Peter said, okay, hang up on her. TV Metal Art says Team Pineapple. Noel says pineapple, ham, and jalapenos.
Sounds good.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Free
add
Samurai, he
jalapenos on
says
there.
pineapple does not belong on pizza. You guys are disappointing me. All the non pineapple people are disappointing.
You guys haven't lived.
Nice.
Widen your taste bud experiences.
There you go.
There you go. These uncultured swine. That's funny. So tell us the if you guys have any more questions, let me know. We'll wind it down a little bit. So tell us the lightning story that you alluded to last time. The thunder tuna.
Yeah, thunderstorm tuna. So we were out on a 1.5-day trip last year. It was towards the end of the season for us, I think October. And it was one of those days where the 1.5 days we had prior, we were getting limits, and it was just steady plunking, the whole trip, every trip. And this was just one of those trips where the weather had turned and it was cold and wet and rainy and the wind was howling, and it was just really tough to get them on that particular trip. And towards the end of the night, we're going to our next spot, and this was like the last hurrah before we head back. So we were at Tanner and Cortez, so we were pretty far out. And so we had stumbled upon a thunderstorm, and there's thunder going all around us, thunder and lightning happening all over us. And it felt like it was on top of us, but it was raining sideways, and it was like the most dismal experience you can possibly have. And so there must have been 7 or 8 people that were fishing. And I personally, it was like the worst trip I'd ever had. I like ripped part of my pants. We had no fresh water that trip. I think I had fallen, like I tripped or something.
It's just
stupid.
one of those trips, yeah.
It was just one of those trips for me. And so like the only thing I was looking forward to was trying to jig towards the end of the day. And so I'm sitting on the bow and I'm trying to jig with my cow rod, and I just wanted one. And I just thought, if this is my day, if I just need like one redemption, to make up for the day that I had. And so I'm sitting on the bow, and my line starts drifting over because the current was really funky. And all of a sudden I got bit. Thunder and lightning's happening all over the place. Everybody's in like full rain gear, and I'm just sitting there on the bow. And it was right as Alex said, reel them up, guys. We're all done for the night. And I yelled out, Biter, I got it. And so I'm sitting there and I'm pulling on it, and it's peeling line. And for me, like, I looked over to the gentleman to my left and I said, you want it? Like, I got one on. And he looks at me and he's like, nope. I ain't gonna grab it unless I hook it. And I said, okay. So I turned to the guy next to me, shout out to Julio, and I was like, hey, Julio, you want it? And he's like, hell yeah. So we grabbed it, and he ended up bringing it in. I think that one was maybe 130, like somewhere around there. It was big.
That's really awesome.
Pictures on my Instagram if you want to look for it. But it's just thunder and lightning and miserable, and I'm sitting there grinning as I'm trying to get this fish on.
That's so awesome. That's great.
That's a good story.
That is a pretty epic story. That's one we all need.
Never forget. Good things come to those who work hard for fish.
That's true.
Yeah.
Promise.
100%. SoCal Salty said, did the Grande do any upgrades during the off season?
We had some minor upgrades. We still stayed in the water. So last year we got a new paint job and a few other things. So we were we were in the dry dock for a few months, but this year we're still in the water. Just little things that needed improvement or needed to get replaced, but nothing too major.
Nice. And the TV
Yeah, we did
medal
get
art.
a new RSW.
Oh, nice. What is that?
New
I don't know
RSW.
what
So
that
it's
is.
refrigerated refrigerated seawater,
Oh,
right?
nice. Oh,
So
hell yeah. That's a big upgrade.
so
Yeah.
we had a system before. And so if you've ever fished on the Grande, or if you can visualize the back deck where everybody fishes, underneath where you're standing is basically this big compartment that we put all the fish in. And that's
Right.
there's a bunch of coils that line the whole side of that compartment, and that's what cools the water, and it keeps it around 33 to 36 degrees. So it keeps it,
That's
very,
huge.
very cold. But we just changed out the system. So it's a separate pump. We took out the coils, and the pump is in a separate place that cools the water there and then sprays it out. So
nice. That's awesome. And then TV Metal Art says, what's your favorite fish to target and to eat?
As much as I love bluefin, just the awe factor and the brownie points for getting big tuna, I love yellowtail personally. If I had to choose, I'd probably eat yellowtail more than tuna. Just thinly sliced, sashimi style. I like putting a little bit of lemon on top with, I don't know, like sesame oil you can add, or a jalapeno too on top. I just like citrusy, like whitefish is one of my favorites type to eat it. So I'd probably go yellowtail, but the fight of tuna, there's nothing that can get compared to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good
stuff. My cat feeder is going on right now.
Oh, is that,
so you probably hear my voice.
Visitors in the house. That's pretty. My cat's passed out down here. Sometimes he comes on the show and walks around back here, but
yeah, he was sitting with me right here on the bar with me, and he hears because it's an automated feeder, and he hears my voice. And he could be in the deepest sleep, and he just opens his eyes and he runs to that feeder. So that you guys all just experienced that. So
yeah, we all heard it. That's funny. Cats never change. That's awesome.
It's chow time for my cat Crow.
That's awesome. Well, Tonie, it's been a pleasure having you on. What so what do you got going on? What's your where can we find you? Where can everybody see more of you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, and I'm also working with Bloody Decks every week. Probably many of you guys have seen me. I do these weekly roundup videos for BD Outdoors, and just depends on what's happening and what's been working. I'll report on that. I'll let you know what boats are going out. If it was a crazy trip, I'll report on what happened. It's kind of like, instead of opening up multiple tabs on your computer of all the different landings, I'm going to give it to you in about 2 minutes. So you can search me there, BD Outdoors, but I'm also on Instagram if you want to see, at Tonie Bang. So those are the two places that you can see me. And so, yeah. But come out on the Grande with us. As of right now, our first trip is on the 19th. That may change, but hopefully I'll get to see you guys this season. So come out and fish with us. Yeah,
if you guys want to go fish with Tonie, hit the Grande up. And yeah, that was awesome. Loved having you on. Hopefully you come on again. Maybe we can do some deep dive topics. We'll get some put your background to work and get a little more specific. But
yeah,
I just want to introduce you guys to the show. Check her out on BD Outdoors. Look her up on Instagram. I mean, she knows fishing. She's been around probably longer than a lot of us have in the fish game. So that's awesome. And yeah, hopefully she's out there. She's going to fish some slow death jigs for us. And
it's added to my arsenal already.
Put them in her arsenal. Let her know how she likes them, and hopefully she get on that pro staff for us and show the world what these jigs can do. I'm looking forward to that, and yeah, I'm sure we'll see more of you. It was great. I think the guys loved it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, just let me know. As long as I'm free, I'll be here. So,
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Joining us. It was great. Bye. Awesome, guys. Hopefully you like that. Tonie has some great stuff. Sorry, Tonie, I totally butchered your name, and I'll go back and correct it. I forgot a letter, but you guys, I got music now coming up in the world. Yeah, that was awesome. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let her know. Like I said, you find her on Instagram. She's working with BD Outdoors. She does a fish report. It's pretty awesome. So she knows her stuff, guys. Knows how to fish. I've been out on boats with her where she was the deckhand and super helpful. She knows her stuff. And yeah, thanks for coming on. That was awesome. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Fishing this weekend, like I said, the SBS going on. So be careful if you're out there. I know big water yak fishing, right? He's going out tomorrow in Oceanside Harbor. So if you guys want to hit him up, I think he's going to be there probably in the afternoon. I'll probably be down to San Diego Bay, doing my usual thing and just be out there fishing. So if you guys have any other questions, great having you. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the support. Find us submissionfishing.com. You guys want to get the jigs, hit them up. And thanks for everything you do. Just thanks for the likes. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for being here. You guys are an awesome community. And we'll see you next week. Bye.